So I thought what I'd do was actually talk to you in this one and give you a few tips, or try to at least. I think it's worthwhile understanding what your place on the road is. If you're cycling in India, it tends to be that the bigger vehicle often has a right of way. Uh, that essentially means that you are pretty much at the bottom of the food chain, or the pecking order, or whatever you want to call it. And it's important to understand that for a number of reasons. Uh, while you occupy the same footprint as a motorcycle, you don't have the option to power out of certain situations to the same degree. Um, and the way that you should approach the roads and the way that other road users will approach you really depend on this fact. So just try and keep that in mind, and look out for yourself. If you're watching the video, you'll notice that I'm not whenever possible, I'm trying to use the center of the road as opposed to going all the way to the left. It's really important that you use the road and keep space for yourself, because that's what's going to get you out of a tricky situation should you find yourself in one. The more you think about giving way, considering you are the slowest vehicle on the road, the more the rest of the road users will press you towards the left. And that is not a great place to be. Of course, in some cases it might be unavoidable, and I'm not asking you to drive in the center of the road like an idiot and just block everyone behind you, but don't be bullied into the gutter. Don't be pushed all the way to the left of the road, for your own safety, as well as a couple of other things. I mean, the quality of the road generally deteriorates the further you move away from the center. So it's not going to be a lot of fun riding there, and at worst it can be a little dangerous. So try and use the road. All right, I'm assuming that you pay tax, so you have as much right to use the road as everybody else. People, this is a smaller road, but particularly on highways or large roads, people are not used to sharing the road with a cycle. So it's okay. What I'm trying to say is that you don't want to expect too much of the other road users. I think some of the best advice I've received regarding this is that you should try and ride as if you were invisible, but assuming that people can see you, try and be as predictable in your movements as possible. What this means is, the first part, riding as if you were invisible, basically means that you shouldn't rely on other road users in any way whatsoever. Look out for yourself. Do not expect anything from anybody else, and ultimately you will be happier as a result. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's no harm in slowing down. I mean, there was a section in the road which is supposed to be a speed breaker. I think that was really bad. You saw me slow down to get over it. Just as you shouldn't get bullied to the side of the road, you should never be bullied to go faster than you feel you are comfortable with. If a few people honk because you are taking up more room than you should be, or you are not going as quick as you should be, it's okay. Let them honk. If they are really in a hurry, they will come past you. See, this is one of the things about cycling that really interests me. Cycling here is a great way to exercise asserting yourself. At the same time, it lets you grow a thick skin if you're one of those people that are really anxious or on edge all the time, because you will learn to ignore. Okay, so I just broke one of my rules there, went all the way to the left, and that's because I don't want to die in that truck you saw was really close. So things like that will happen when you're out on the roads, and you don't. There's a number of ways to deal with situations like that. If you're not confident, slow down. Right? There's no harm in slowing down. Uh, Try not to slow down too suddenly, but don't don't put the inconvenience to others at the top of your list. What should be at the top of your list is your safety, right? That should be number one. Everything else comes later. We're actually picking up a fair bit of speed here, and the whole use the road thing becomes even more important when you're descending or when you're going a little quicker. So keep that in mind. Use the road, especially when you're descending. You take a turn, there's a good chance that the centrifugal force will have you not in the position that you were expecting, if you're starting out as a beginner rider, and so the more room you have to play with, the better and the easier it is. So in this video you will find it's already started to become a lot greener, and as a result of this, the video is hopefully a little nicer to watch. There aren't any cuts in this, so it flows a little more than the previous one. I don't know. I chose a really talk about the camera that I'm using a little. I chose a really sunny time of the day, mainly because I assumed that the traffic would be really low, but this really exposes the weakness of this camera, which is that if there's too much light, the camera just does not deal with it, and it doesn't really deal with transitions really well. So when it's really bright and you go under a bunch of trees, it doesn't really do well. Let's just put it that way. But it's fine. I mean, for what it is, I think for the time being, that truck is not as close as it looks. It's a bit scary, but there was plenty of room. However, again, that truck, had I given him more room to begin with, would have cut a lot closer as it crossed me. So leaving room is something that you'll get the reason behind it very quickly, and I don't know what I'm saying anymore. If you see the camera moving left and right now, it's because I'm actually climbing out. This is an ascent, and I'm climbing out of the saddle. This is a very basic technique. Some people call it dancing or pendulum dancing or whatever. Essentially, you're standing up on the pedals, and you are using the leverage from the road to sway the cycle left and right. This lets you put down power a lot more effectively, and is something that is really useful for when you are in a tight spot, or when you want to accelerate for whatever reason off, let's say, a traffic signal, and you don't have time to actually change gears, and it's a lot more flexible. Also lets you rest some of your muscles while using a different muscle group. So it might be something that will be useful to you on a particularly long or hard ride. At the same time, standing out of the saddle means that blood can flow into your the parts of your body that you're actually sitting on, and that's always a good thing. You want to make it a habit to get out of the saddle and pedal. Just stretch your legs a little every few minutes or so, if you can. Let's say about every 15 to 20 minutes. That should be good enough. You always want to carry water with you. You might think that the weather is a little on the cooler side, but if you are near the coast, as I am, then the humidity can play a big role, and you really want to stay hydrated. That is pretty much essential. When you're riding a cycle, you are the engine, so to speak, so you want to take good care of yourself. You also want to be eating every hour. Just one solid piece of food every hour at the very least. The water is much more important. So I speed up here a little to catch someone. I spot someone on a bicycle. I speed up a little to catch up to them, and yeah, it's a beautiful road. It looks, it's hard to believe, but it actually looks even better in person. Yeah, it's someday when I actually deserve a better camera, I definitely like to record this route once again, maybe at a slightly different time of day. And yeah, that's it. I just so I'm wondering if I should maybe add a little bit of music to the background. Maybe that'll make the video a little easier or a little more interesting to watch. I'm really not sure. Just wanted, the original idea was just to share a couple of these rides with people that I can't actually ride with, and maybe help in some way. Let's see, we're now approaching one of my favorite climbs, which is not going to be in this video, it'll probably be in the next one. But yeah, we're just at the base of the climb. It goes up for about a kilometer, 3% gradient, I think. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the end of this video. Let me know what I should do, because I'm not really sure.